What's up everyone, how are you all? Today we are back with another blazing Naruto story. What if Naruto hurt by Mirajane? If you enjoy then please like, share and do comments. And also check the description to original creator of this beautiful creation. Magnolia Town was a bustling city, one filled with both the young and old, rich and poor, but the true highlight of the city was the large building that skirted the edge of town. The occupants of the building, a constant topic of the normal daily chatter that occurred across town, were famous across the entire continent for one reason. This building was the hall of the top mage guild in all of Fairy Tail. Many of the citizens idolized the brave mages, their conversations normally mentioning at least one of them daily, and more often if a member had a particularly insane mission. Did you hear? Natsu destroyed the port in Harjin town. Insane, absolutely insane. The market district was beginning to fill up. The vendors discussing current events before the daily grind forced them to compete with each other to sell their wares. Yeah, but did you hear about the monster that Urza-san was hired to kill? I almost feel sorry for the monster. A round of laughter continued among the adults milling around the market until a large blonde-haired man was seen walking through the main gate of the city. Several of the townsfolk grinned widely as they waved at the man, several cheers starting as the youth rubbed the back of his neck in embarrassment. Naruto-san, you're back. How was your mission? Uzumaki Naruto yawned loudly, his heavy pack dropping to the ground as he lightly scratched a cheek. Nothing too serious, but I'm wiped out. As much as I'd like to stay here and chat, I'm heading over to the guild for a drink and then back home for a nap. I'll see you all later, thanks for the welcome back home. Naruto grinned as he saw several children run towards him, the shinobi ruffling their hair as he passed them by before waving goodbye as he made his way towards the guild hall. Several of the adults shook their head as they watched the young man calmly stroll towards his destination, the words that he had spoken causing one of the women to grin widely. Hey, nothing too serious, he says. Only Naruto-san, that man is too humble for his own good. After all, he's not known as the Cage of Fairy Tail because of his good looks. The inside of the Fairy Tail Guild Hall was a gathering place not only for mages, but people that saw each other as family and the hall as their home. Various groups gathered around the multitude of tables, partners and teams trading stories and jokes as they drank to their heart's content while others worked on various projects and interests that had caught their attention. And through it all, a beautiful young woman wove her way towards each group, their lecherous glances not bothering a single whit as she deftly sidestepped each invitation that was extended to her as she performed her job to perfection. The young woman smiled brightly as she deposited her final order, her beaming smile causing the men at the table to blush as she sauntered away, her swaying backside leaving the group speechless as the waitress returned to the bar once more. Mirajane sighed as she rested her tray on the bar, the young beauty taking a deep breath as she looked over her fellow guild members as they continued to carouse throughout the room, their glee spreading to everyone around them as they continued to revel in their high spirits. We're only missing one thing to make this scene perfect. Just when is that baka coming home? Just as Mira was about to circle around the bar and sit for a spell, the front door of the guild opened and Myra's eyes widened as they landed on the new arrival, with a metal forehead protector emblazoned with the symbol of Fairy Tail leaving no doubt in Myra's mind of the man's identity. Myra's intent gaze took in the sight before her, quickly checking to see if the man before her was injured in any way. Finally assured that he appeared to be hale and hearty, a wide smile appeared on Myra's lips as she raised her arm and waved excitedly as she yelled the man's name. Naruto. Every conversation came to a screeching halt as Naruto's name was called, the entire guild hall turning as one to see the recently arrived shinobi, his hand raised in greeting. Yo, I'm back everyone. Naruto laughed aloud at the loud cheer that welcomed him home, several guild members walking forward and slapping the man on his back as they celebrated the return of one of their members. Naruto smiled as he caught up with several of his friends in the guild, but after a few moments the shinobi's attention was once more drawn to the expectant gaze of the woman that had seen him first. Naruto laughed as he slowly pulled away from his well-wishers, the blonde making his way towards the bar. Naruto's eyes focused on the shy smile Mirajane was sporting as she watched Naruto slowly draw closer towards her, a faint blush staining her cheeks as she nervously smoothed her dress. As Naruto passed several of his fellow guild members, his ears picked up snippets of several muffled conversations, his enhanced hearing picking up on the familiar topics that were brought up once he had entered the building. No wonder she keeps rejecting me. Look at how she's staring at Naruto. Lucky bastard. Do you think they'll get a clue and finally get together this time? Nah, I bet you 1,000 jewels that Blondie is still oblivious to how Mirajane feels. Hiding a grin as he neared the elated young woman, Naruto braced himself as Mira ran forward and wrapped the blonde in a bone-crushing hug, burying her face in his chest as Naruto's arms encircled her waist. Naruto grinned as he ran his hand gently up and down Mira's back, a muffled giggle her only response. So, Mira's muffled voice rose from her position against Naruto's chest. Are you back for a while now? Naruto grunted softly, the shinobi grinning as he felt Mira's arms tightening around him for a moment before she stepped back. Good, it's been too long since you came home. No more accepting missions from the council, you got that? Naruto raised his hands in front of him, a weak smile his only response as he backed away from the insistent young woman. Come on Mira, they were in a bind. They needed someone with my skills. Besides, they said that I wouldn't be called upon for another mission for at least another year, maybe even more. Naruto watched the woman before him as her narrowed gaze studied him, the blonde sweating a little at the scrutiny. After several moments Mira nodded her head resolutely and stepped behind the bar once more, her hands moving deftly as she prepared a drink for the returning shinobi. Sliding the finished creation towards him, Naruto raised the glass to his lips and drank slowly, savoring the taste while he continued to stare at Mira. What? Naruto laughed as he peered over the edge of his mug, his expressive eyes never straying from the woman before him. As Mira began to blush from Naruto's scrutiny, the shinobi slowly lowered his glass and rested his elbows on the bar as he leaned close, an action mirrored by Mira. Not much, just remembering the day I crashed into this place. I seem to remember a young white-haired girl getting ready to kill me for some reason. I think it was because I had the balls to spank her in the middle of a fight. Naruto grinned as he watched Mira's blush darken, the barmaid clenching her hands as she mock glared at the man before her. I never did get you back for that, you still owe me. Naruto laughed loudly as he reminisced about that day once more. Flashback 3 years ago. A chat? A chat? How about you apologize for smacking my ass? Freaking pervert, I should gut you like a fish. Naruto lazily looked over at the fuming woman, his bored expression causing the young girl to growl loudly as her hair began floating around her like an aura while sparks of dark energy arced along her body. Yes, Naruto said, a chat. Also, I think you better move those claws, someone could get hurt badly if you don't. As Naruto finished speaking, he relaxed his iron grip on his killing intent, the potent aura seeping out and causing the temperature of the room to drop drastically. Naruto watched the young woman's eyes widen as she involuntarily took a step away from him, her clawed hand shaking slightly as her breathing became ragged. Looking over his other shoulder, Naruto glared at his other attacker as she slowly shook her head, her sword shakingly pulling away from the blonde's neck and vanishing in a burst of light. Naruto closed his eyes as he clamped down on his aura once more, his normal grin returning as he focused on the old man before him. Sorry about that Gigi. Name's Uzumaki Naruto. Shinobi extraordinaire and all-around prankster from hell. Now, Naruto said, his gaze slowly scanning the faces of the 3 people before him. Can anyone tell me how the hell I got here? Makarov was sitting crossed-legged on the bar, a mug of beer raised to his lips as he studied the young man before him before slowly drinking from the glass. Setting the mug on the counter, Makarov let out a sigh as he narrowed his gaze once more at the blonde before him. So let me get this straight, Makarov said, his incredulous expression growing as he continued to speak. You were in the middle of a celebration of your birthday, an event that was being celebrated by giant toads. At Naruto's happy nod, Makarov rubbed his chin before he continued. And one of these giant toads was a mean bastard of a drunk, slapping you across the mountain before he finally sent you flying through some type of artifact that no one knew how to operate, correct? Naruto nodded rapidly once more, the action causing Makarov to smile slightly at the energetic young man before him. And after you disappeared through some kind of portal, you wound up in the lower levels of the guild, breaking through a magically sealed room and its secure door, and finally proceeded to bust up my guild hall? Naruto laughed as he nodded, his face disappearing behind a mug as he took another swig of the beer he had been given. The entire time Makarov's calculating eyes studied the young man before him as he considered what he had been told. Several moments passed before Makarov softly began to snigger, the action causing Naruto's eyebrows to rise in surprise as he lowered his mug to watch the small mage before him. Makarov's snigger continued to grow in volume until it became a giggle, before finally transforming into a full-blown belly laugh as the guild master began to slap his open palm against the bar. Raising his mug once more, Makarov sighed as he shook his head. "Oh, I wish I hadn't missed that. Why do all the good fights happen when I'm not here? Master." He knocked everyone out and seriously hurt Natsu and Gray. Naruto rested his elbow on the bar, his deadpan expression causing Urza's mouth to quickly snap shut. "Oi, Pinky and Frosty both earned it," Naruto said, a serious expression appearing on his face as he lectured the young woman before him. "They were the ones that started the whole fiasco. I was perfectly fine to use my taijutsu against them, but they were the ones that escalated it when they used their magic. The others were knocked out for their own protection. I didn't want them getting caught up in the crossfire." Urza growled as she folded her arms over her chest, the red head turning away as she stormed out of the guild, Makarov sighing as he shook his head slowly. Naruto then spun around, a teasing grin on his face as he poked Mirajane in the shoulder. "And do you have anything you'd like to complain about, Shiro?" "Whitey." Mirajane glared at the shinobi beside her before turning away, her chin rising in the air as she ignored the blonde at the bar. Makarov sighed softly as Naruto turned back towards him, the blonde shrugging helplessly. "I see you have a way with the ladies, Naruto-san." Makarov grinned at a sniggering Naruto, the blonde shaking his head as he took another gulp of his beer. "Oh yeah," Naruto said, a condescending grin appearing on his lips as he turned back towards Makarov. "I got them eating out of my hand. They're even willing to gut me like a fish and pound me into a smear on the floor. What else could a man ask for?" Naruto sighed as he put his mug down, his expression turning melancholy as he closed his eyes. "It's been 2 years since I've had any extended contact with people, all because of who I am. My own friends and comrades were forced to banish me, rather than start a conflict that would have decimated our village. Every once in a while I would see a friend as they performed their missions. Each time I was greeted politely, but soon I was alone once more, my journey never ending as I continued to wander the world." Makarov placed his mug on the countertop once more, his expression serious as he placed his hands on his knees. "So, you had no place to call home and now you have no idea how to return there, that is if you even wanted to." Naruto nodded sadly as he drained his glass, the blonde sighing as he rested his forehead against the bar. "You should join Fairy Tail." Naruto raised his head, his eyes blinking rapidly as he and Makarov both looked at the blushing face of Mirajane in surprise. I see couldn't be bothered to care what a pervert like yourself would do. But if you wanted a family and friends, you could join Fairy Tail." As Mira ran off towards her still unconscious siblings, Naruto looked at a grinning Makarov and sighed, a grin forming slowly on his face. "Well, who can argue with that logic?" End flashback. Naruto grinned as he remembered how nervous Mirajane was when she suggested the shinobi join Fairy Tail. The young woman appeared so confident now after only 3 years had passed. As Naruto raised his glass to his lips once more, the blonde enjoying the view as Mira turned away and began washing several dishes, the doors to the guild were violently kicked in and an energetic pink-haired man entering the building, screaming loudly as to announce his presence. Naruto sighed as his head drooped, Mira's delicate hand resting in his blonde locks as she ruffled the shinobi's hair gently. "You know he nearly worships the ground you walk on, right?" As Naruto looked up, he nodded tiredly, his hands tapping softly against the glass mug he held between them. Mira gave the tired shinobi a beautiful smile before she walked around the bar, heading towards the rowdy new arrival. "Natsu, welcome home." As the fire dragon slayer turned towards Mira, his eyes widened as he pointed dramatically at the bar, flames spewing from his mouth as his excitement overrode the small amount of common seance the young man possessed. "Naruto, fight me!" Natsu roared excitedly as he rushed forward, sidestepping Mira as she shook her head in exasperation. Naruto sighed as he spun around in his bar stool, the blonde resting against the bar as he lazily observed the charging dragon slayer. "Natsu, watch out for the seal trap." Natsu's ecstatic expression instantly morphed into one of confusion as he glanced towards the floor, a loud squawk of indignation as the clueless dragon slayer stepped on a glowing seal, its presence having been missed as it had been activated recently. Naruto smirked as he watched the youth growl when he was slammed into the ground, the gravity seal stopping his headlong rush towards the tired shinobi. "I just got back from an extended mission," Naruto said, a loud yawn interrupting him as he stared at the struggling youth. "We can spar later, but for now I am completely tapped out." Natsu growled as he slowly pushed himself off of the ground, the shinobi's eyebrows rising in surprise as the dragon slayer slowly started towards him once more. "I'm not letting one of these stop me this time. I'm going to take you down today." But before Natsu could take another step, a cold chill ran down his spine, the normally blazing dragon slayer feeling as if his entire body had been dunked in ice. Glancing over his shoulder, Natsu's face paled as he saw a shadowy aura surrounding the normally cheerful Mirajane, the barmaid approaching the frozen young man while one of her hands held a slowly forming spark of energy. "Natsu, go play with the others," Mirajane said, her extremely sweet tone of voice belying her obvious anger. "Naruto is off limits for the time being. I'll let you know when you can play with him again." Mira smiled brightly as Natsu nodded woodenly, the young man falling over in shock as the gravity seal released its hold on him. Looking around at the other members, Natsu growled as he spotted Krav, the impetuous dragon slayer, jumping to his feet and racing towards his unsuspecting target. Moments later, Naruto shook his head as he watched the all-too-common brawl occur once more. Fortunately, this time the participants were keeping him out of it. "Some things never change," Mira said while she watched the brawl continue to grow until the entire guild was caught up in the fight. "Do they?" Naruto shook his head as he looked towards the doorway, seeing an unfamiliar young woman that was staring in shock at the barroom brawl taking place right before her eyes. "Oi, new girl, over here." Lucy's eyes widened as she pulled her luggage after herself, her companions stopping before a large building as they turned towards her. Natsu grinned as he jerked his head towards the guild. "Here it is, Fairy Tail." As the pair entered the building, Lucy's gaze took in the numerous mages before her, the sounds of revelry causing a smile to form rapidly as she got her first look at the greatest guild in all of Fury. Just as Lucy was about to walk forward, a loud yell beside her caused the young woman to squeak in surprise as she watched Natsu race towards the bar. "Naruto, fight me." Lucy blinked as she folded her arms under her S, the name Naruto bouncing around her head for a few moments. "That's strange, I was sure I knew the names of all the members of Fairy Tail. Maybe he's a new member?" As Lucy looked towards the bar, the Stellar Spirit Mage's eyes widened in shock as she saw Natsu fall to the ground, the powerful young man struggling against an unseen force as he tried to reach his final destination. Looking towards the bar, a frown appeared as she failed to recognize the man before her. Lucy nearly squealed as she recognized Mirajane when she came over and spoke to Natsu, the young woman causing the fire mage to pale significantly before he fell over. As Lucy watched the action unfolding before her, her expression quickly changed from contemplative to shock as she watched Natsu rise once more and attack a fellow guild member, an action that set off a battle royal that soon enveloped the entire guild. "They're insane," Lucy said, the mage ducking under a thrown table as she continued to watch the fight in shock. "All of them? Isn't there someone here that's normal? Oi, new girl, over here." Lucy turned towards the bar, seeing the same blonde man from before waving her over. And beside him was Mirajane? "Oh wow, I get to meet Mirajane." Lucy happily skipped towards the bar, her smile having returned completely as she stood before one of her idols. But just as Lucy arrived at the bar, she pointed at the fight behind her in worry. "Shouldn't we stop them?" Mira closed her eyes as she smiled, her head slowly shaking back and forth. "Oh no, this happens all the time. Besides," Mira said, never noticing a bottle of booze that had been thrown towards her. Her expression never wavered as the blonde at the bar snagged the bottle out of the air, the young man rapidly flinging the projectile back towards the brawl. "If it gets too serious, I can have Naruto here stop them." Lucy watched in shock as the returned bottle smashed into a guild member's nose, the man holding the broken protrusion while focusing his glare towards the bar. Lucy shivered as she felt a cold presence suddenly appear, the glaring man in the brawl falling flat on his ass as he began to shake like a leaf in the wind. "Naruto, stop that, you're scaring the new girl." Lucy looked back in shock at the now standing blonde-haired man, seeing the icy glare aimed at the guild member with a broken nose. Sighing softly, Naruto sat back down and the chill finally lifted, Lucy taking a shaky breath as she sat on a bar stool. Just as the fight appeared that it was going to escalate, the mages involved all deciding it was time to bring magic into the battle. A shadowy foot slammed into the ground, causing the entire guild to freeze in fear. "Cut it out, you fools." Lucy's eyes glanced up and way up as she choked down a scream of panic. "He's humongous, Master." "So," Mirajane said, "you were here after all." Lucy's jaw dropped as she looked at the apparent master of fairy tale. Lucy's surprise changed to awe as she then saw every brawler before her back away from their opponents, many of them grumbling as they turned towards their master. Well, that is, all of them except Natsu. "Ha, you all got scared. This match is my win." Gah. Lucy watched in morbid fascination as the guild master before her raised a massive foot and stomped on the loud-mouthed fire mage, silencing his victory speech. Lucy's loud "Ep" echoed through the now silent guild as she watched the massive man turn his gaze towards her. "A newcomer, eh?" Lucy's jaw dropped as the shadowed being before her began emitting powerful magic, the stellar spirit mage sweating as she waited to see what her fate would be. Moments later, Lucy's fear swiftly changed to surprise as the shadowy man rapidly shrunk, a short old man now standing before her. "Nice to meet you. The name's Makarov, welcome to Fairy Tale." Before Lucy could respond, the old man leapt towards the second floor, his body spinning rapidly as he slammed the back of his head into the railing, his pain-filled groan causing the entire guild to cringe. Makarov clung to the railing and slowly pulled himself on top of it, the old man standing at his full 3-foot height. As the guild master raised his hand, a large sheaf of papers appeared as he looked at the people below him, his firm gaze causing the assembled mages to nervously fidget. "You've done it again, you fools," Makarov said, the old man shaking his head as he motioned at the papers he held. "Look at the documents I've received from the council." Meanwhile, with Naruto grinned as he looked over at Mira, his hands clasped before him in a classic pose of begging. Please can I do it? It's the perfect opportunity." Mira let out a soft hum, placing a delicate finger on her cheek as she considered the request. "Well, I think you're right, it is the perfect opportunity. I give you full permission." Naruto grinned as he rubbed his hands together, his expression gleeful as he turned back towards Makarov, an expression that caused Lucy to gulp. Just what is he up to? Back with Makarov, burning down a church in Frisia, damaging parts of Lupinus Castle, Nazune Ravine's observatory collapsed and they had suspended their operations. And now you blew up half of Harjan's port. Natsu, why can't you be more like Naruto? All of you can learn from him, he never blows anything up. As Makarov turned towards the mentioned guild member, his eyes widened at what he saw. "Naruto, what are all those piles of paper around you?" Naruto grinned evilly as he pulled the top sheet off of the closest pile, the blonde clearing his throat as he began reading the document. "Warehouse district of Crocus, destroyed. Main port and Cedar, destroyed. Half of Oaktown Castle, destroyed during an inter-guild battle. Oh yeah, I remember that fight, the council was not happy about that one." Naruto glanced up at Makarov, an innocent smile gracing his features as the guild leader pointed down at him in anger. "Where did you get those? I've never heard of any of those incidents before." No, you didn't." Naruto's grin became very fox-like as he nodded happily. Yep, I stole them all before you could read them. Every sheet here is a list of the stuff I've destroyed." Naruto watched as Makarov growled, his face slowly turning red before he sighed, the anger bleeding out of him as he glared at the blonde below him. "Well played, Naruto," Makarov said loudly. "You win this round." Makarov grinned as he looked down at the other members, one of his hands gesturing towards the grinning blonde below him. "Naruto understands that each and every one of us is responsible for our own actions. The council seeks to control us, use us and hold us back. Forget what they say and do what you think is right. That is the way a fairy tale mage should be." Naruto grinned as he watched his fellow members cheer loudly, the blonde's head shaking as he resealed the stacks of blank paper surrounding him. Later, Lucy grinned excitedly as Mirajane placed Fairy Tale's guild stamp on the back of her hand, the magical item leaving an imprint of the guild mark in a pale pink color. Looking up at her idol, Lucy's expression became smug as she noticed Mira glancing over at a napping Naruto. the blonde's head laying against the bar as the other members of Fairy Tail gave the sleeping man a wide berth. "So, Mira," Lucy said, her smug grin growing as she saw the barmaid blush lightly. "Are you and Naruto, you know?" Raising her pinky finger, Mira shook her head quickly as she covered her now burning cheeks. "No, you got it all wrong. We're just close, we've been through a lot together." Mira glared at the blonde girl, watching Lucy intently as she crossed her arms under her large S. A smug expression appeared on Lucy's face as she turned towards the sleeping shinobi. "So, if he's free, that means that I could." "No." Lucy turned back towards Mirajane, the older mage's look of shock sealing the deal for you, young girl. "Aha, you do." Lucy's victorious shout was cut off as Mira slapped her hands over the loud blonde's mouth, glaring at the girl until she stopped talking. "Not a word to Naruto," Mira said quietly. "Otherwise, they'll never find the body." Lucy's eyes widened in shock, but before she could say another word a high-pitched voice spoke up beside the shocked young woman. "Is my daddy back yet?" Lucy looked beside her and saw a young boy looking up at Makarov, the guild leader sitting atop the bar as he swallowed a mouthful of beer. "Romeo, you're really starting to annoy me. You're the son of a mage. Trust in your father and wait for him at home like a good boy should." Several people began to speak of the job Romeo's father, Mikao, had taken on Mount Hakobe. As Romeo pleaded that someone go look for his father, Makarov took a large gulp of his beer before slamming the mug onto the bar. "No way. Your dad's a mage, he can take care of himself. Go home and drink milk or something." Lucy's eyes widened as she watched Romeo leap forward, his fist lashing out as he punched Makarov in the nose before he turned and ran away, his tears falling to the ground as he left the guild. As Lucy turned back towards Mira, a loud crunching sound caused her to turn towards the request board, the young woman's eyes widening when she saw a request embedded in a newly formed crack on the board. Lucy watched as a silent Natsu walked away from the request board, the fire mage reaching for his pack as he turned towards the entrance. Just as he left, Naruto rose from his stool and reached for his pack, pulling a long-sleeved red jacket over his shoulders, the flame-trimmed garment causing Lucy's gaze to narrow. "Shouldn't we stop them, master? They're just going to be trampling on Mikao's pride if they rescue him." Lucy looked towards the person that spoke, seeing a large tanned man dressed in a set of tribal clothing. Lucy looked towards Master Makarov, as the old man calmly smoked a pipe between gulping down his beer. "Of course you can, Nab, go right ahead, try and stop Naruto and Natsu from leaving." When the tanned man continued standing by the request board, Makarov smirked after removing his pipe from his lips. "Yeah, I didn't think you would. Just let them go, this is their choice. Where have I seen that code before? It looks so familiar." Lucy watched as Naruto glanced towards Mirajane, the barmaid nodding as the tall blonde walked out of the guild hall as well. After the blonde left the building, Lucy turned back towards Mira, her hand grasping the drink before her. "What happened to those two?" Mira stopped polishing a glass as she looked at Lucy, a sad expression causing the stellar spirit mage to wonder if she wanted to know the answer to her question. Natsu lost his only parent. He woke up one day and he was gone. He learned everything from his foster parent, even his magic, and he loved him very much. He still misses Igneel to this day. Naruto. He never had the opportunity to know his mother or father, he's an orphan. Lucy's eyes fell towards her drink, the young woman thinking of what she had just learned as Mira continued to speak. "Neither of them want Romeo to go through what they did, at least that's what I think is happening." Mira rested her elbows on the bar, a melancholy expression appearing as she continued speaking. "Almost everyone in Fairy Tail has a painful story, one that drives them forward and has made them who they are. Even me." As Lucy slowly stood, she left her suitcase at the bar as she ran out of the guild, a sadly smiling Mira watching her progress. As Romeo's tears slowly fell from his cheeks, the young boys wiping futility at them as he continued to cry. As Romeo slowly made his way back towards his home, a rough hand ruffled his hair for a moment, causing Romeo to pause and stare at Natsu's back, the dragon slayer not even stopping as he continued to walk towards the edge of Magnolia. "Don't worry, Romeo, we'll find him." Romeo whirled around, the new voice causing his tears to fall once more as the young boy saw Naruto walk towards him, his hand also ruffling the young boy's hair. As Naruto caught up to his comrade, Naruto chuckled as he saw the Dragon Slayer hiring a carriage to take him and Happy to Mount Hikobe. You must really want to get there badly if you're willing to use a carriage to do it. Glancing over his shoulder, Naruto saw Lucy running towards the pair and he grinned evilly. Oh ho, I see how it is, Naruto said. You could smell her following us and you got a carriage so she could go with you. You sly dog you. Natsu refused to take the bait, causing Naruto to pout sullenly. Lucy stopped before the pair, the young woman panting loudly as she looked at the carriage. Let me go with you. Naruto and Natsu shared a look, the shinobi shrugging as Natsu motioned at the carriage. Okay, get inside, we've got to get moving. Lucy smiled widely as she climbed into the carriage, missing the light blush staining Natsu's cheeks as she turned towards Naruto. So I guess you're going to leg it? Naruto nodded as he began stretching legs, his eyes focused on the distant peaks of Mount Hikobe. Yep, I'll scout around the mountains, there's a lot of ground to cover and we may not have much time. As Naruto dashed off, Natsu climbed into the carriage and sat down, the Dragon Slayer breathing deeply as he tried to control his growing nausea as the carriage began to move. Lucy looked at Natsu quizzically and then towards the closed door. Where's Naruto? Isn't he riding with us? Natsu stretched out on his bench, his motion sickness causing the young man to groan as he shook his head. No, too slow for him, Natsu said. He'd go nuts after a few minutes of sitting here. He's running towards Hikobe right now, Oh god, I hate carriages. He should arrive in half an hour or so, we'll be a few hours behind him. Lucy's jaw dropped as she looked at Natsu in amazement. 3 hours later, Natsu groaned as the carriage finally came to a stop, his stomach finally settling as he shouldered his pack. Finally, let's get out of this thing. As he opened the door, strong winds blew snow into the carriage, causing Lucy to scream as she began rubbing her exposed arms. What the heck? It's the middle of summer. As Lucy looked at the snowstorm raging around the trio, she saw a blanket resting atop Natsu's pack and raced towards it. Gimme that. Moments later Lucy pulled one of her keys from her waist, raised it into the air. Oh, open the door of the clock. Horologium. As Lucy raced towards her summoned clock, she watched Natsu and Happy scanning the frozen land before them. Just what was Mikao doing her in the first place? As Lucy stepped inside of Horologium, a chill raced down her spine as she heard Natsu's reply. You can out here without knowing that? Mikao was going to subdue a dangerous monster, Vulcan. It's been spotted around here. If it's not stopped, it could destroy any nearby towns in a matter of days. As Natsu began walking towards the nearest peak, a large shadow falling from above caused Natsu to backflip to safety, the Dragon Slayer watching as a Vulcan landed before him. The large ape-like creature laughed mockingly as it leapt over Natsu, the creature snatching up Horologium in its clutches and running off. Save me, she says. Natsu watched apathetically as Lucy was carried away, the Dragon Slayer releasing a large blast of fire around him. Moments later a crouching Naruto appeared, the shinobi rising to his feet as he looked at his fellow guild mates. Well, none of the other peaks had any clues. Since you signaled me with your magic, I'm guessing you ran into something, am I right? Natsu grinned as he punched his fist into his open hand, a burst of flames appearing around his body. Yep, we found the Vulcan. I've got his scent, let's go. Mount Hikobe was a frozen wasteland, the perpetual snowstorm stopping all but the bravest, or most foolish, from scaling its peaks. If anyone could see the group that was crossing the frozen mountain paths of the area, they would be hard-pressed to know if they were either incredibly brave or completely batshit insane to be doing it. Natsu continued his trek across the frozen mountain path, the Dragon Slayer stopping every few minutes as he sniffed the air. Happy sat perched on his partner's shoulder, the blue cat keeping his eyes peeled as he scanned the horizon for possible dangers. Naruto silently followed the normally hyper young man, the hood of his sage coat pulled over his head as he looked at the raging blizzard surrounding the trio. Any problem picking up the scent, Natsu? Naruto's shout apparently had been heard by the young man as a negligent wave was his only answer, an action that caused Naruto to grin as they neared what appeared to be the entrance to a dark cave. But as the three mages entered the opening, the shinobi whistled lowly as he looked at the icy cavern stretched out before them. No way, this is natural, Naruto said. The layout is too precise, I wonder what made this. Naruto pulled his hood down as he walked further into the cave, the shinobi cocking his ear as he heard loud gibbering echoing against the walls of dense ice. I'm pretty sure we found them. Let's go. Several minutes later, Natsu slowly edged himself towards what appeared to be the final antechamber of the cavern. A proud Naruto watching as the Dragon Slayer didn't run headlong into the unknown situation. Fire blazing from his mouth while fighting by the seat of his pants. And the funny thing is, Naruto thought wryly, it only took a whole year of violent reinforcement to break him of that bad habit. How many are there? And is Lucy okay? Natsu glanced around the corner once more, before looking back at the shinobi, a frown stretched across his face. There's only about 20 of them. Naruto raised an eyebrow as he rubbed his chin in thought. And Lucy, well, a high-pitched scream echoed through the icy caves, causing Naruto to sigh as his head fell forward. With Lucy. Ah, Holorogium, I need an extension. Gimme an extension please. Ah, back with Natsu, Happy and Naruto. Naruto sighed as he rubbed at his forehead, the sound of the Gibber tribe of Vulcans and Lucy's screams causing a headache to form. Of course, her spirit just had to disappear now. That thing would have protected her during the fight, but now, we're gonna have to save her. Damned newbies coming on a mission like this. And are you sure about the number of Vulcans in there? Naruto said, his hand gesturing back at the room ahead of the pair. Check again, that number seems kinda low for all the noise we're hearing. Natsu looked around the corner once more, but this time when he looked back his expression was gleeful as he rubbed his hands together. Oh no, there's way more than 20, looks like 40 now. Naruto grumbled softly as he began to pull out several items from a hip pouch. If that stupid clock had stuck around, we could have had a little competition, but now we have to watch out for the newbie. Naruto sighed as he placed several tags against the wall that separated the trio from the chamber, the small pieces of paper glowing briefly as he connected it to his chakra system. Closing his eyes, Naruto stretched out his chakra senses, the shinobi pinpointing each monster that was hiding behind the wall. After several moments, Natsu began to fidget and was about to run headlong into the fight when a strong hand gripped his forearm, the Dragon Slayer looking into Naruto's shocked eyes. Change of plans, we've got another problem. Lucy nervously backed away from the approaching Vulcans, the primate monsters surrounding the cowering woman as she shivered under Natsu's blanket. Natsu, Naruto, where are you? If only there was something I could use as a distraction, then I could try and escape. As if answering Lucy's desperate plea, the far wall of the antechamber exploded, smoke and shards of ice flying across the room as the Vulcans began to run helter-skelter in fear. That is, all the Vulcans except the one that kidnapped Lucy scattered, the tall creature grinning lecherously as it neared the now terrified girl. Woman, me likes woman. Lucy screamed in terror as the Vulcan's hand reached for her, the celestial spirit mage raising her arms over her head when a sudden blast of wind sent the girl crashing to the floor. Lucy groaned as she picked herself up off the ground, her attention focused on the growling Vulcan that was now face to face with her, the young mage's eyes lifting as she looked to see what was holding the creature on the ground. Looking upwards, Lucy's jaw dropped as she gasped, her vision filled with the sight of Naruto standing in front of her, his hand pinning the Vulcan to the ground. As the S-class mage pulled his hand away from the monster, a brightly glowing character was revealed, several snaking lines leaping from the mark and wrapping around the creature as it struggled to move. Stay down, Lucy. Natsu, Naruto said, his hands clasped together in front of him. Let rip. Lucy's eyes widened as she watched Natsu stride through the thick smoke, the young man spreading his legs widely, inhaling deeply as a magic seal forming rapidly around him. Lucy watched in fascination as he brought both of his clenched fists in front of his mouth, his cheeks bulging as he finished inhaling. Karyu no Hoko. Lucy screamed as a wall of flames raced towards her, when the sight was suddenly cut off as a wall of ice rose up, the frozen liquid glowing a brilliant orange as it held back the flames. Can you stand? Lucy blinked slowly, her gaze focusing at a hand held out before her. Looking upwards, Lucy's vision clouded as she stared into the smiling face of her savior, tears slowly running down her cheeks. Ah, come on, don't cry, we're Nakama, I wouldn't let anything happen to you. If I did, Mira would kill me. And besides, I like you, you've got spunk. As Lucy began to wipe at the falling tears, a loud thump echoed against the ice wall. Naruto grunted as he touched the wall before the pair, a string of glowing characters revealing themselves just before they burst into motes of light. Moments later the ice wall fell, the sight before her causing Lucy to cover her mouth in horror. Natsu stood before the young woman, a somber happy perched on his shoulder. The young mage was doing his best to block Lucy's sight, but his body wasn't large enough to hide the burned remains of the Vulcans that had inhabited the cavern. Lucy looked up at Naruto in shock, her mouth working silently as she tried to understand what was going on. Vulcans use takeover, Naruto said, the blonde-haired man kneeling beside the sole surviving creature, his expression grave as he reached into his hip pouch once more. It's a spell that imprints a specific creature or monster on top of a person's normal body. Vulcans take over people, causing their tribe to swell quickly as they hunt down humans in nearby towns and villages. Lucy's eyes widened, her gaze switching towards Natsu, who nodded grimly before Naruto continued to speak. After a while, the takeover becomes permanent, meaning that there is no way to return those people to their human form. When this happens, it's a mercy to end it for them, or else they may attack their loved ones and friends, changing them into monsters as well. As Naruto pulled a small piece of paper out, Lucy watched in fascination as it was placed atop the Vulcan, the creature gibbering madly as it tried to escape. Before we attacked, I could sense that one of the Vulcans was still human, he was in the process of turning. Meaning, that if we got to him fast enough we could save him. It also works out well for us, after all he's the reason we came out here. Lucy watched in wonder as the Vulcan was bathed in a brilliant white light, the terrified gibbering rapidly changing to painful shrieks. Several moments passed before the creature began to shrink, revealing a passed-out older man with blue hair, his clothing covered in blood. Lucky for Mikao here, I have a lot of experience with takeover magic. The seal I just used absorbs the magic from him, returning him to his natural form. Bending over, Naruto helped pull the older man to his feet as Mikao began to wake, his bleary eyes staring at the blonde man supporting him. Naruto? What happened? Hey, I was hoping you could tell me, Mikao. I was surprised to find you taken over by a Vulcan. This was a pretty big tribe to go after all on your own. Mikao took a deep breath as he shook his head, the man quickly remembering what had occurred. The mission said that there was a small tribe of them here, but it looks like they've been doing some recruiting. 19, I took out 19 of them, but the 20th. He snuck up behind me. Once I saw him it was too late and then. Nothing. I don't remember anything else until I just saw you. How long have I been gone? Magnolia, late evening. Romeo was sitting in front of his house, no longer caring how late the hour was or how tired he became. The young boy just sat there, staring down the road as he continued to wait. Several minutes passed when a group of people appeared under a lamppost, the sight causing Romeo to leap to his feet. A sheepish-looking Mikao, his arm over Natsu's shoulders, waved at his son as the Dragon Slayer helped him reach his home, a smiling Happy and Lucy waiting beside the lamppost as they watched the reunion before them. Mikao slipped his arm free from Natsu, the older man painfully turning towards his nakama and thanking him before he continued towards his son. Natsu grinned as he turned around, the mage walking silently towards his friends. Natsu ni, Happy, Lucy nay, thank you. Natsu turned partially and raised his hand, a wave his only response before he walked off. Lucy caught up with the Dragon Slayer, her hands held behind her back as the trio slowly made their way towards the guild hall. So, where did Naruto disappear to? As soon as we hit town, he took off. Natsu shrugged his shoulders, the youth placing his hands in his pockets while Happy rode on his shoulder. Dunno, I knew he has a place in town but no one knows where it is. He just came back from a 3-month mission and he helped rescue Mikao, he's probably wiped out. If anyone deserves a rest, it's him. Let's go home. Naruto groaned loudly as he entered his home, the dwelling having remained unchanged since he had left several months earlier. The tired shinobi dropped his pack in the living room, his shirt quickly joining the bag on the floor as the blonde looked at his forearms. Each forearm was wrapped in leather, each intricate sheath containing several strips of lacrima. The bracer on Naruto's left arm glowed a soothing green, while the right glowed a dull scarlet. Moments later, the shinobi removed these as well, his eyes focusing on the now revealed flame-like tattoos that ran halfway up his forearm. As Naruto studied the black flames against his skin, a pair of delicate arms wrapped around his waist from behind, the shinobi letting out a content sound as the woman's soft hands slid up his chest. "Hey love," Naruto said as he enjoyed the warmth from his lover's body. "I missed you." Naruto felt the woman behind him pull him towards her, soft lips kissing his broad back gently before the shinobi spun around, his fingers gently caressing Mira's cheek before he wrapped her in his arms. Mira's arms looped around Naruto's neck, the young woman pulling the shinobi into a deep kiss as she pulled him towards the nearby bedroom, a giggle escaping her lips as her lover kicked the door shut. Several hours later, Naruto gently placed his hand on the stomach of his lover, pulling the young woman closer as the pair spooned together in their bed. A soft kiss on Mira's neck caused her to moan softly, the young woman enjoying the sated feeling after welcoming Naruto back. "Now this has been what I've missed," falling asleep in his arms. "It's been too long." The young takeover mage sighed as she opened her eyes drowsily, a delicate finger gently tracing the flame-like tattoos on Naruto's arms as she relaxed in his embrace. "Did you find anything this time?" After several moments without an answer, Mira was afraid that Naruto had fallen asleep on her. But a heavy sigh dispelled this thought, the shinobi's answer causing Mira to close her eyes as she brought Naruto's palm to her lips, kissing it softly before settling back against her lover's chest. "It's been 3 years and we're still no closer to a solution." Flashback. Day of Naruto's arrival. Naruto and Makarov had both finished off their drinks, the shinobi rising to his feet, his arms raised over his head as a mighty yawn escaped him. Mira was still watching over her siblings, that is when she wasn't peeking over at Naruto. Makarov grinned toothily as he caught the young woman doing just that, the blush on her cheeks traveling down her neck and shoulders as she forced herself to look away. I wonder. Rubbing his chin in thought, Makarov nearly missed Naruto's exit as he slowly made his way towards the guild hall exit. "Well, I better get going. I need to find a place to crash for the night after all. Speaking of which, what are we going to do about them?" Makarov looked towards his sleeping children, a short bark of laughter passing his lips as he shook his head. "Don't worry, this wouldn't be the first time they've slept on the floor after a brawl. They'll either sleep till morning or wake up and head home. But as for you, why don't you go clean up in one of the back rooms? There's a place you can shower and change if you've got extra clothes. Mira'll be happy to show you the way." Mira spun around, her eyes wide as she stared at the sweaty blonde before her. Naruto crossed his arms over his chest as he watched a bright blush cover the young woman's face, her mouth working soundlessly as Makarov ran from the room, cackling madly. Naruto cocked his head to the side as he observed the brightly blushing girl before him. "Yep, she's gonna blow up, right about. You damned old goat, I'm gonna kill you, now. Damn you Gigi," Naruto mentally growled, shaking his head as he watched the violently cursing girl before him. "I suck at handling angry women, you are so getting pranked." Naruto walked forward and placed his hand on Mira's head, causing the white-haired girl to pause as she slowly turned towards him. "Lesson number 1: if you're going to hang around me, never, ever prank me. Leave it to me, I'll get him back for both of us." Naruto smiled as Mira's eyes locked onto his own, an odd expression appearing before Naruto grinned at the girl. "Now, Makarov said something about a shower?" Naruto watched as Mira looked at the blonde nervously, the expression on her face causing Naruto to chuckling internally. After several moments of studying the girl before him, Naruto watched with a smile as Mira quickly made her way towards the back of the hall, an amused Naruto following her sedately. When she reached the door, Mira turned around and began fidgeting with her hands, a habit that caused Naruto to smile fondly as he remembered how Hinata would do the same thing. Reaching his hand out, Naruto patted the nervous girl on the shoulder as he opened the door. "Thanks Mirajane, I got it from here." Mira watched intently as Naruto entered the back rooms, the takeover mage leaning against the wall once the door slid shut. The young girl sighed as she slid to the floor, a predatory grin appearing as Mira looked at the closed door. "Well, Urza doesn't seem interested in Naruto at all, lucky for me. Now, how can I? Shit, what the hell?" Mira's gaze focused on the closed door, the young girl rising to her feet and worriedly banging against it. "Naruto, are you okay in there?" Moments later the door was wrenched open and a shirtless Naruto exited, a panicked expression on his face as he stared at his forearms. Mira's gaze focused on Naruto's forearms, seeing what she assumed were several intricate tattoos that reminded her of flames. But when she looked up at Naruto's face, the panic reflected in his gaze caused the young girl to quickly realize that something was very wrong. Mira, where's the old man? Something's really wrong here. End flashback. Mira's fingers gently traced along the black flames that adorned her lover's skin, wishing that there was something that she could do about them. As long as this seals remain, Naruto-kun can't properly access Kurama's chakra. And after he made that discovery regarding the natural energy of our world, I thought he was going to have a breakdown. Flashback. Evening of Naruto's arrival. After a tense conversation with Makarov, Naruto had tried every seal that he could think of to remove the flames from his forearms, but every one that he tried was instantly absorbed into the new array that adorned his body. After an hour of futile attempts, Naruto allowed Makarov to study the seal array, hoping to get some kind of answer from the old man. As Makarov's keen eyes studied the array, Naruto watched Mira mixing a drink behind the bar, the young girl glancing towards the pair every so often. Well, as far as I can tell, Makarov said, this array is a mixture of magic and these Fuin techniques that you mentioned. I wouldn't even know where to begin with it. And you say you have no idea where it came from? Naruto sighed as he leaned back in his chair, his gaze focused on the newest seals that covered his body. That's right, I never saw them until I took off my shirt. Well, that's just great, now I can't use any of my Jinchuriki powers. I still have my healing ability, but it looks like I'm stuck with Sage Mode when the shit hits the fan. Makarov looked at Naruto quizzically as he blinked at the young man before him. Sage Mode? What's that? Naruto pulled his feet up, the blonde's body relaxing in a lotus position as his eyes slowly closed. Makarov and Mira both watched as Naruto became completely still, his breathing slowing until he suddenly screamed in agonizing pain, the shinobi falling from his chair as he twitched on the ground feebly before the two wide-eyed mages. What the fuck is wrong with this place? End flashback. Mira had to suppress a giggle as she remembered how pitiful Naruto had sounded that day. We had no idea at the time but the Iterano that permeates the air is mixed with the natural energy of our world. It can sustain a mage's magical power, but it can't be used for Sage Mode. Naruto-kun can filter the natural energy out, but it takes too long to gather, so it's essentially useless in combat. At least Master was finally able to come up with an alternative for Naruto-kun. Mira's thoughts slowly trailed off as sleep finally overtook the young woman, the pair of lovers resting peacefully together as the night wore on. The next day, the early morning sun shone through the open curtains, the beam of light striking exactly where Naruto's closed eyes happened to be. A low groan was heard as the tired shinobi focused his chakra, a clone popping into existence. Naruto opened his eyes blearily as he watched his clone yawn and stretch before him. The clone went to the window and quietly closed the curtains before standing in front of Naruto, waiting for further orders. You're going into the guild for Mira, we'll be there in the afternoon. Its orders received, the clone tiredly nodded as it activated a henge, turning into a perfect replica of Mirajane. The real Naruto sighed contently as he snuggled closer to the warm body beside him, an action that caused Mira to murmur softly in her sleep as the pair drifted off again. Several hours later, Naruto opened his eyes, the bare spot before him letting him know that Mira was already up. Rising from his bed, Naruto silently padded into the kitchen, a smile gracing his lips as he leaned against the door frame, observing a softly humming Mira as she moved around the kitchen while preparing breakfast for the pair. As Mira returned to the stove, a smirking Naruto silently advanced, his unsuspecting prey completely unaware of what was approaching. As Naruto neared Mira, he raised his hands and prepared to lunge forward. Don't even think about it, Naruto-kun. Now, Mira said, her eyes never leaving the cooking food on the stove. Go and set the table, I'm almost done here. Naruto sighed as he stepped forward, gave Mira a hug, good morning, a peck on the cheek, and proceeded to set the table as instructed. A few minutes later the pair were seated across from each other, enjoying the meal and catching up on what had been happening over the last few months. As the pair finished their meal, they quickly washed the dishes and got ready for the day. Half an hour later and the duo were slowly making their way towards the guild hall, a smiling Mira holding onto Naruto's arm as they passed through the market district. As Naruto looked up, he saw the Mira clone approaching them, her hands full of bags and a smile on her face as she greeted the pair. So, how did it go? Naruto said, accepting the baggage as the clone scoffed lightly. Ha, those guys didn't even know the difference. I just flashed him the same smile that Mira always uses and they were putty in my hands. Naruto grinned as the clone disappeared in a burst of smoke, its memories causing the blonde to chuckle as the pair continued on their way towards the guild. Naruto-kun, I don't know whether to be impressed that you can imitate me so well, or to be creeped out by the fact that you can. Naruto's head quickly turned towards his girlfriend, the betrayed expression he was wearing causing the young woman to giggle. Oh, you sneaky little. This is 'cause I tried to scare you in the kitchen, isn't it? Mira giggles continued as she squeezed the arm that she was holding onto, the pair slowly separating as they drew closer to the guild. Before they could enter, Naruto grabbed Mira and pulled her into a nearby alleyway, dropping the bags he carried as he held the young mage in his arms. Mira, don't you think it's time that we tell everyone that we're together? We can't keep hiding this, someone is going to figure it out eventually. Have you forgotten? Mira said, a deadpan stare causing Naruto to sweat a little. Why we don't tell everyone? I seem to recall someone saying that, she'll skin me alive if she finds out I'm sleeping with her best friend. Now, who could have said such a thing, I wonder? Mira was cut off as Naruto leaned in and kissed her deeply, the young woman moaning softly as she returned the ardent kiss and rested her head against Naruto's chest. Yes, I know I said that, but that was a year ago. I'm sure that she's… Oh, who am I kidding, she'll still try and kill me. Mira giggled as she gently patted Naruto's arm, the blonde gathering up the dropped items quickly. The pair exited the alley, separately, and entered the guild hall, a round of cheers greeting them. Hey everyone, Mira said, a smile on her lips as she touched Naruto's shoulder. Look who I ran into. As Naruto placed the heavy bags he had been carrying at the bar, he heard several whispered conversations around him. Hey, look at that, he's become a glorified gopher. Of course, it'd be hard to say no to Mirajane if she asked for help. Do you think he's been friend-zoned? After all, I never see Mira looking at him any different than the rest of us. Naruto nearly burst out laughing at the last snippet he heard, his years of shinobi training helping the blonde to keep his mirth off of his face as he helped Mira pull various bottles and groceries out of the bags he had been carrying. Naruto looked out of the corner of his eye and saw Makarov staring at him, a mischievous smile gracing the old man's face as he walked towards the pair. Well, I see you found our late riser Mira. And you even got him to agree to be a pack mule, good job. Mira giggled as she circled around the bar, putting away the purchased items as the master leaned towards Naruto, his humorous grin disappearing as Makarov adopted a serious expression. So, how did they work out? Any problems? Naruto pulled his sleeve back a bit, revealing the lacrima-studded bracers, their soft glow causing the old man to grin in triumph. Nope, they work like a charm. The Sage bracer fills in about a day or so, but the Biju bracer fills much more slowly, I'll only use that one for emergencies. Makarov nodded gravely as Naruto tugged his long-sleeved shirt back down, covering the softly glowing gems as the pair turned towards the rowdy members of the guild. I'm sorry it took so long to find a workaround, but the lacrima that we used had to be created from scratch. This is completely untested and we weren't really sure what would happen. Makarov trailed off, a terror feeling of dread causing the old man to turn around and look at Mirajane's strained smile. Master, are you using Naruto as a guinea pig again without knowing the consequences? What did I tell you would happen if I found out about this happening again? Naruto nervously laughed as Makarov grabbed the blonde and began making his way towards his office. Sorry Mira, Makarov said, the diminutive master quickly backing away from the angry barmaid. I've got important things to discuss with Naruto. We'll continue this conversation, never. Mira glared at the master but her line of sight was cut off as his door slammed shut, the barmaid's cheeks puffing out as she pouted cutely. Mo, that crazy old man. As Mira began putting away the various beverages the clone had purchased, a visibly smirking Lucy sat at the bar, her elbows resting on the counter as she leaned forward. Hey Mirajane, so, I see you came in with Naruto, that must have been some coincidence. Mira finished putting away the drinks and leaned forward, motioning for Lucy to come closer. The young girl grinned widely as she did so, hoping to hear a juicy secret. Mira looked down the length of the bar, assuring herself that no one was eavesdropping before she began to speak. Well, you see, I was out shopping and… As Mira trailed off, Lucy nodded her head excitedly, waiting on pins and needles for the rest of the story. Mira grinned mischievously, reached over and flicked the young girl in the forehead, eliciting a startled yelp from the receiver of the weak blow. "That's for being nosy, Lucy-chan." "Ow, Mirajane, that wasn't funny." Mira leaned back, her giggles attracting the attention of several people passing by as she picked up a cloth to wipe down the countertop. Lucy let out a huff as she watched the model working when she suddenly sat up straight. "Oh yeah, when we were on our way towards Mount Hikobe, Natsu said something that doesn't make a lot of sense. He said Naruto is the co-ace of the guild, but he's only as strong as a A-class mage? How does that work?" Mira stood tall and nodded sagely, her arms crossing under her S as she focused on the question. Well, Natsu is a little slow, he doesn't quite understand Naruto's real potential. Everyone who talks to our resident dragon slayer says the same thing that you just did. Now, let me ask you something before I answer your question. I know you're a celestial spirit mage, but do you specialize in any other type of magic? Nope, it's just me and my spirits. Why? Mira nodded again as she looked towards Makarov's office. It's the same for a lot of mages, many of us specialize in one area and that's it. I'm a master of transformation magic, as well as several other types. Master is able to use at least 7 different types of magic that we know of. Naruto is able to successfully use at least 6 types, each of them as powerful as an A-ranked mage. So in a fight where both mages only use a single type of magic, he really is at that level of power. But when you combine all of them, not to mention his physical capabilities, then he is much more powerful. Lucy swallowed loudly as she looked towards the closed door Naruto had entered earlier. What do you mean by physical capabilities? Insanely enhanced speed, strength, agility, proficiency with weaponry, and his ability to create solid clones to assist him in combat. Don't even get me started on his sealing methods, we're still trying to figure out how he can do what he does with those things. And if that wasn't enough, the man has a mind like steel trap. He always has an out or a way to win a fight, no matter how bad his position is. Honestly, if he wanted to, he could probably take over as guild master, he'd be perfect for it. Mira giggled internal at the dumbfounded expression Lucy had. Remember how everyone else had reacted when Naruto had told them what he could do all those years ago? Is he some kind of prodigy? That's insane. Just as Lucy was about to continue, the office door opened and Naruto quickly exited the room, a determined look on his face as he walked towards one of the far tables in the guild hall. Mira sighed as she placed a delicate hand on her cheek. Oh, looks like Naruto's received a new mission. I recognize that look, this can't be good. Naruto exited the office, his eyes raking back and forth across the people before him until he found his quarry. As Naruto strode across the guild hall, he stopped at a table and nodded at the occupants. Biska, Alzak, I need both of you to help with a job. The pair of gunslingers nodded curtly, stood and exited the guild. Naruto spun around and came face to face with Elfman, the large man looking down at the shorter Naruto with a neutral expression. Naruto-san, if you need assistance, I volunteer my help as a man. Naruto's eyes narrowed as he opened his mouth wide, but out of the corner of his eye he saw Mira's hands clasped together, causing the shinobi to sigh angrily. No thanks Elfman, we'll be fine. Brushing by the large man, Naruto walked towards the bar and flashed Mira an apologetic smile as he sat down for a moment. I'm sorry that we haven't had time to catch up, this is an emergency job and it should be done in a week or so, after that I'm not taking anything else for a while. Mira lowered her hands and stared at Naruto, the shinobi sighing as he placed his hands on the bar, meeting Mira's hopeful gaze with a stubborn look. I know what you want to say and I'm sorry, the answer is still no. Turning away abruptly, Naruto stormed out of the guild, a confused Lucy looking towards Mirajane for an explanation about what had just happened. Mira sighed as she closed her eyes, trying to find the best way to explain the situation. Naruto and Elfman. They don't get along very well. I've tried to get Naruto to work past it but… Mira sat down heavily on a stool behind the bar, tears appearing in the corners of her eyes as she watched a visibly saddened Elfman exit the guild, his posture and stride showing his dejection with each step. Magnolia train station. Naruto's hands were thrust into his sage jacket, the shinobi waiting patiently for the rest of his team to arrive. When Biska and Alzak finally made it, The pair stood before the senior mage, waiting to hear what the mission was. "We've got a big problem. It's an emergency mission that was specifically sent to me. For years, the council has been hearing about a group of dark mages that finds ancient artifacts and sells them to the highest bidder, regardless of how destructive or dark they are. The meeting sites change constantly so they are never caught, but the council finally got someone on the inside and now we know where the next meet will be. We're going in to seize all the artifacts and hold the criminals until the council arrives. Are you two ready for this?" Alzak looked over at his partner, a determined expression meeting his gaze. Turning back towards Naruto, Alzak nodded firmly. "Lead the way, Naruto, we're with you." A cool breeze blew its way through the large city, the cooler northern air helping to relieve the oppressive heat of the capital. Naruto breathed in the cool breeze deeply, a smile touching his lips as he looked over the multitude of buildings laid out before him. His hand reaching out, Naruto pointed at the dilapidated opera house across the street before turning back to his partners for this mission. "There it is, Crocus Old Opera House. That's where the auction is currently located." Both of the gun's magic mages crept forward, looking at the large building before them. Alzak turned back to their team leader, an expression of surprise causing Naruto grin. "An auction for dark artifacts in the capital? That's insane. This is the last place they should have this set up. You'd think they're not even worried that they would be caught." Naruto chuckled as he pulled a scroll from his pack, laying the parchment on the rooftop and weighing the corners down with several kunai. "That's the beauty of it, Alzak," Naruto said, a tone of admiration leaking into his words. "No one would ever suspect it. But, if you have the balls and expertise to pull it off, this is the best way to fly under the radar. Also, it doesn't help that they have someone with deep pockets that helps the local law to avoid this area. But their luck has finally run out." Biska's eyes narrowed as she watched several patrols, some of them guarding the front of the building as well as others that passed by the expansive windows that adorned the building. "Looks like we've got a lot of company this time. Maybe we should have brought Elfman along, he's good in a fight." Biska trailed off at the sound of crumbling stonework, the sniper looking over her shoulder as Naruto pulling his hand from a newly formed hole in the wall. Alzak looked over at his partner, placing a silencing hand on her shoulder as Naruto focused on the two gunslingers. "Don't worry, we'll be fine. Now, get over here, we've got some planning to do." Chapter 3, Fairy Tale Guild Hall. "I remember what you told me yesterday, Mira," Lucy said, the young woman picking at the food she had ordered. "But why don't Naruto and Elfman get along?" Mirajane froze, the glass she had been polishing clutched between her hands as she took a deep breath. Placing the glassware on the counter, Mira motioned for Lucy to follow her, the curious celestial spirit mage following the retreating barmaid swiftly. As the pair passed through a set of large doors, Lucy's eyes widened happily as she stared at the multitude of books before her. A lone girl was in the library, Fairy Tale's solid script mage, Levi. The young woman could be found here when not relaxing with her friends and teammates, Levi always saying the same thing when asked why she spent so much time in the library. "They just called to me, all those books. So much knowledge that I need to read." As the solid script mage climbed down the ladder, she caught sight of the new arrivals, smiling brightly as she ran forward. "Mira, Lucy-chan, what can I do for you?" Levi's expression shifted from happy to concerned in a moment, the somber look in Myra's eyes causing Levi to worry about her friend. "Levi, could I have you leave the library for a little while? I've got some things I need to share with Lucy about the history of our guild." Levi nodded slowly, placing a comforting hand on Myra's arm before exiting the library. Once the doors were closed once more, Mira motioned to a pair of comfortable chairs, the two young women sitting as they looked at each other in silence. Mira leaned forward, a warm smile appearing as she broke the silence. 3 years ago, Naruto fell into our laps, literally. No one was sure where he came from, just that one day he appeared, trashed our guild when Natsu started a fight with him, and knocked everyone else out. The master came home and after discussing the circumstances, Naruto was invited to join Fairy Tale. Within the first few months, many of our members had realized that he had a flair for tactics. Many thought that his off-the-wall or just plain insane plans were doomed to failure, but they all ended up working for some strange reason. He became the person that was consulted any time a really dangerous mission came up. And he was good at it, he gained the trust of everyone. Crocus. Naruto leaned over the parchment he had placed on the ground, the floor plans of the opera house laid out before the trio as they discussed their roles in the operation. Bisca, I'll take out the patrols on the third floor, creating a dead spot that you can use as a sniper position. I'll also be posting 2 Hengid clones to protect you, just in case there's a change in patrols. After you've gotten a clear line of sight on the targets, hold your position until you see my signal. Bisca nodded, the gun's magic mage checking her weapons once more before the operation began. Alzak, you're going to be coming in on their flanks, making sure that the boss of this auction doesn't escape. Don't reveal yourself unless you need to stop him from escaping, even if it seems like I'm in trouble, understood? A terse nod from Alzak caused Naruto to grin, the blonde standing tall as he began stretching. Alzak and Bisca looked at each other, the young man asking the question that they both wanted the answer to. Naruto, Alzak said, the young man glancing over at Bisca before he continued speaking. What exactly will you be doing? Naruto looked down at the still crouching pair, his smirk causing the pair to gulp. Me? I'm the distraction. Now, get comfortable, we're not moving before 3 am, you two better get some sleep. Fairy Tale Library. So for a year, Naruto went on any and every job he could find. If anyone needed a hand he was there to help them. And all that time, he always had time for me, Elfman and Lasana. Myra's face fell, the ivory-haired beauty staring at her hands as she began to slowly started to shed tears. Lucy leaned forward, took the barmaid's hands in her own and squeezed lightly. Mira, who's Lasana? Why are you crying? Mira freed one of her hands, wiping angrily at her tears and taking a deep breath, composing herself before she continued. Lasana, she was my little sister. She died 2 years ago on a mission. Naruto watched her die, Ichi was too late to save her. And the reason she's dead is because of an accident involving Elfman. Crocus, early morning. Naruto watched as he clones landed lightly on the faraway roof of the opera house, the shinobi's eyes narrowing as they disappeared inside the building. Several tense minutes later, the same pair of clones appeared in one of the windows, his confident grin and corny thumbs up causing Naruto and Bisca to breathe a sigh of relief. Naruto grabbed Bisca in his arms and leapt silently into the air, the shinobi landing softly on the distant roof. As the second clone reappeared and guided Bisca to her final destination, Naruto jogged across the roof, looking below as Alzak managed to sneak in through the rear of the building. Knew it was a good idea to bring these two. Okay, showtime. Do I get to come out and play? Naruto sighed as he dove into his seal, his head craning upwards as he looked into the half-lidded eyes of his partner, Kurama. Sorry Furball, I may be able to use your chakra again, but it takes such a long time to gather it that I'm saving it for emergencies. A low rumbling sound shook the ground gently before Kurama closed his eyes, his snout resting on his paws. Bah, this sucks. This world has done nothing but hinder us since we've arrived. Naruto reached out a hand and patted his partner gently, causing Kurama to open one of its eyes in confusion. Don't worry, someday soon I'm sure we'll be kicking ass together again. Just wait for me, okay partner? Kurama sighed loudly as Naruto vanished from his sight. The shinobi blinked his eyes rapidly before he looked over the edge of the opera house's rooftop, the sight below him causing Naruto to grin. A pair of guards were standing right below him, chatting quietly as they took a break. Naruto smirked as he stepped off of the building and plummeted towards the ground. The mistakes of the past shall rise once more to enrich our future. From the moment of its creation, this had been the motto of the guild Rising Phoenix, its sole purpose: discovering the ancient knowledge and magics that had been lost, returning humanity's former glory to its people. Seekers of the old ways, treasure hunters and wise sages flocked to the Guild of Knowledge, hoping to discover a clue to the past that could aid humanity's future. But the council saw nothing but a group of opportunistic thieves, acquiring priceless and dangerous artifacts in their pursuit of knowledge. On the day that his guild was disbanded, the guild master, Bartolomeo, swore that he would rise from the ashes of his former guild. He also promised that the council would regret their decision. Bartolomeo stood on the stage of the latest stop of the Devil's Auction, a dark mage's wildest dream. Locations to ancient sites of power, lost tomes and magics, forbidden knowledge in its purest form. All of it available to anyone who was willing to pay. Bartolomeo was now known as the auction master, The person that had the final say in all matters concerning the enterprise were his alone. The amoral man smirked evilly. His eyes slowly drifted over the latest batch of dark artifacts that had been acquired as he began calculating just how much he could get from the horde before him. Suddenly, the sound of a door being kicked in woke him from his stupor, the head of the devil's auction looking up in surprise as a tall blonde-haired man strolled into sight, a look of relief on his face. Finally, real live people. Do you know how hard it is to find a bathroom in this part of town at this hour? So, if you could just point me in the right direction, I'll be out of. Hang on, what's going on here? Bartolomeo watched in silent surprise as the blonde walked towards the stage, a childlike smile of glee spreading as he closed in on the gathered artifacts. Wow, this is a sword of desolation. It's said to contain a spell that can destroy anything within a mile of its user. And a staff of subjugation. Talk about rare stuff. What's happening here, Asen? Is this some sorta club for owners of rare artifacts or something? The auction master folded his arms over his chest as he watched his men closing in on the intruder. Something that you should not have seen, boy. I'm afraid that finding a bathroom is the least of your worries at the moment. The blonde man cocked an eyebrow as he watched the approaching men, many of which had magic seals appearing before them as they neared their target. Ah, don't be like that. If you threaten me like this, then I've got to retaliate, and that never ends well for you guys. So how about this, you surrender peacefully and we talk this out. A chorus of laughter caused the blonde to shrug. Yeah, I thought that it sounded stupid as well, but I had to give you the chance to give up. The auction master's eyes narrowed as he studied the man before him once more, a niggling suspicion growing in his mind. And why is that? The blonde grinned savagely as it raised a fist. Because otherwise I get in trouble when I do this. Bunshin Deibakuha. The auction master's eyes widened as the blonde glowed brightly for a moment before he exploded. The leader of the illegal auction threw his arms up as the blast wave neared him, his magic glowing around him as he tried to cast a spell of protection, but it was too late. The once proud guild leader was thrown bodily across the room like a rag doll. Screams and yelling echoed in the man's ears as he saw his men milling about in confusion, many of them wounded as they had been right by the blast. When amidst the confusion, the auction master saw a shadow appear behind several of his uninjured henchmen. The wounded man raised his arm shakily, trying to get the attention of his men, even as he realized that it was too late. Blasts of magical energy were fired from a balcony that should have been clear and guarded, Bartolomeo's men falling to the ground amidst further explosions while others fell to the shadowy man behind them. Damn it, woman, stop blowing them up, we need a few of them to talk. Bartolomeo shakily rose to his feet, the injured man limping towards the exit as quickly as he could while his men fell to the duo. If I can just get outside, I can. The auction master's train of thought was swiftly derailed as the cold metal barrel of a magic revolver pressed firmly against his forehead, causing the man to freeze in terror. The sound of the revolver's hammer cocking echoed loudly in Bartolomeo's ears, causing him to stay absolutely still. Sorry, but I think we need to have a few words with you. If you could please go back inside, Naruto will be with you in just a moment. Several minutes later, Naruto was whistling jauntily as he continued to truss up the captured dark mages, the groans of the wounded not even fazing him as he tightened the ropes. Too tight? Well, you should have thought about that before you attacked me. The blonde shinobi stood swiftly, turning towards the seated auction master and flashing him a grin. So, rather than torture you for information, how about you show me where you keep your logs, books, whatever you call them? I'll make sure to let the council know you were cooperative. It may make him more lenient on you. Naruto watched as the injured man painfully crossed his arms over his chest, defying the blonde as he neared him. Naruto knelt down, looked the leader of the illegal auction in the eye and stared at him. Several moments passed, when suddenly the man glanced at a crate to the right, a smiling Naruto rising to his feet and striding towards it, still whistling happily. Bisca smirked as she elbowed Alzak in the ribs. Is it just me, or is Naruto enjoying their suffering just a little too much? Alzak chuckled softly as the pair watched Naruto searching the contents of the crate. Moments later, the blonde found the ledger that had been kept, its bindings filled with the names of buyers of the worst kind of artifacts possible. As the blonde scanned the ledger, an item near the back stood out from the rest, the shinobi's blood running cold as the ledger snapped shut. Striding back towards the auction master, Naruto ignored the worried questions from Alzak and Biska as he grabbed the injured man by his shirt, hoisted him up and glared at the now petrified man. Who bought lot number 625? WHO. When Naruto didn't get an answer, he flung the terrified man against a crate, the wounded man crumpling to the ground painfully. Naruto strode forward, pulling the groaning man up and slamming him on top of the crate, a kunai appearing in his hand as he spun it around. One more time, who bought lot number 625? The terrified man shook his head, his eyes widening in fear as Naruto raised his kunai over his head and slammed the knife home, its hardened metal blade biting deeply into the wooden slats of the crate right next to his ear. Last chance. WHO. Bought. Eisenwald. It was Eisenwald. Naruto let out a deep breath, stowing his kunai as he dropped the sniveling man to the ground. Looking over at his wide-eyed teammates, the blonde could only shrug. Sorry about that. Sometimes, aggressive interrogation is needed to loosen the tongue. But now we've got a bigger problem. Look at this. Tossing the ledger towards Alzak, the young man quickly skimmed the pages until he found the lot number Naruto had mentioned, his eyes widening as he looked up in shock. Yeah, the genius here sold the location of Zarif's lullaby to a dark guild that likes to kill people. Fan-fucking-tastic. Half an hour later, the Rune Knights had finished the removal of all the artifacts and the imprisonment of the Dark Mages was underway. Naruto had spoken with the head captain, Lahar, about the situation and was currently in the captain's temporary office, the shinobi rubbing his chin slowly as he studied the map hung on the wall. Moments later, Lahar entered the room, his hands holding a folder that he was slowly leafing through. Our latest intelligence puts Eisenwald's location somewhere near Oshibana. There have been no sightings of their leadership in. Lahar's voice trailed off as his assistant burst into the room, the heavily breathing man taking a moment before he delivered his message. Eisenwald has taken over the Oshibana train station hostage. A team from Fairy Tail is on the scene, but no one knows what is occurring inside the building at this time. Naruto spun on his heel, his long strides taking him out of the building until he found Biska and Alzak. I need you two to get back to the guild. I'm going after Eisenwald. I can travel much faster alone, and it looks like I'll have some backup in case I need it. Before Naruto left, Lahar and his assistant exited the building to see him off. Pausing for a moment, Naruto turned back towards the man that had delivered the message. Did the reports say what team from Fairy Tail was at the train station? Apparently a new one, the assistant said while consulting the original message. Consisting of Natsu Dragneel, Grey Fullbuster and Urza Scarlet. As soon as Naruto learned the name the final member, he raised his eyes to the heavens. Damn it, what the hell did I ever do to you? Huh, she's gonna try and kill me, I just know she will. As Naruto disappeared in a burst of high speed, Lahar turned towards Alzak and Biska, a concerned expression on his face. Is there some kind of problem between Naruto-san and Urza-san? Alzak and Biska looked at each other, both laughing nervously before they walked off, leaving a very confused head captain behind. Just outside of town. You do know it'll take hours to get there, right? Naruto let out a soft bark of laughter, pulled up his sleeve and exposed his sage bracer. Well, time for a long-distance test then. Let's see how long we can make this last, Senenmoto. A magic seal appeared around Naruto's wrist and he was suddenly filled with natural energy once more, his pupils changing as the marks of a true sage appearing around his eyes. The empowered shinobi accelerated dramatically. A massive trail of dust was thrown into the air as he continued to accelerate. Next stop, Oshibana. 1 hour later, Naruto skidded to a halt in front of the Oshibana train station, the shinobi cocking his head to the side as he looked at the massive wall of wind covering the structure. Huh, that's not something you see every day. Damn it, I've been robbed. Naruto turned away from the wind-covered building, a slightly sick feeling forming in his gut as he drew closer to the man that was screaming. This girl in armor burst in, said that it was a matter of life and death and stole a four-wheeler. Naruto groaned, having a pretty good idea where this was going. Hey Asen, Naruto said, the shinobi rubbing his temples as a headache started to form. Did the person that stole the four-wheeler have long red hair? As the man nodded rapidly, Naruto raised his fist to the heavens and growled loudly in frustration before dropping his arm to his sides. Okay, send a bill to Fairy Tail. Damned impetuous. How long ago did this happen? And which way did she head? Just a few minutes ago. And they were following the train tracks, you can't miss him. The owner of the four-wheeler shop paused for a moment as his eyes narrowed slightly. Wait, you mean to tell me she's a member of Fairy Tail? Hang on a second. Red hair. Armored mage. Could she have been Urza Scarlet? Naruto sighed as he held a hand over his eyes, nodding slowly. Yeah, that's her. I better go catch up, this could get ugly. One violent burst of wind later and Naruto was speeding out of the town, his sage mode still going strong as he raced down the train tracks. A few minutes later, Naruto saw the four-wheeler ahead of him and he leapt into the air, landing in front of the vehicle and launching himself forward. Moments later Naruto heard a scream of rage from behind him, causing the shinobi to glance over his shoulder. Apparently, the four-wheeler driver had gotten a second wind, evidenced by the fact that the vehicle was slowly catching up. Looking into the eyes of the driver, Naruto grinned cockily at Urza, gave her a mock salute before turning forward and racing down the tracks. Naruto, Kasama, with Natsu and Aragorn. Natsu's powerful flames propelled the young man forward, a flame-coated kick sending Aragorn crashing to the ground. As the Shinigami from Eisenwald slowly stood, he watched as Natsu closed in, his flames burning brightly from the anger the Dragon Slayer displayed. Thrusting his arm towards the ground, Aragorn launched himself into the sky, his free hand quickly flowing through several hand signs. Don't get ahead of yourself, you pest. Stormbringer. Natsu's eyes widened as the attack closed in on him, but it was already too late to dodge it. Crossing his arms in front of him, Natsu prepared for the tornado that was being dropped on him when fate decided to intervene. Futon. Daitapa. A powerful blast of wind intercepted the tornado, both attacks pushing violently against each other before they cancelled each other out in a burst of wind. Natsu grinned widely as he saw a shadowed figure approaching him slowly through the dust. Yo, Naruto, when did you get here? As the dust cleared, the grinning visage of Naruto was revealed, his eyes focused on the growling man hovering in the air. I heard a rumor that these guys were going to find Lullaby, and look at that, there it is. Looks like I made the right choice in coming here. So, think you can finish him off, Natsu? A loud growl was the Dragon Slayer's response, one that caused Naruto to laugh loudly. With another burst of speed, Naruto positioned himself on the side of the tracks heading into Clover Town. All right, I'll stay right here, Naruto said, his arms folded over his chest. But, if you lose I'm taking him down. Have fun, kid, with Urza and the others. Gray. Why did Urza call Naruto a bastard? Gray noticed that Lucis' gaze was focused on their driver, a driver that was swearing profusely as they raced down the train tracks. The dark mage Cage, an unwitting passenger on the four-wheeler, cowered at the back of the vehicle, completely cowed by the violent aura that was being given off by Urza. That rat bastard. Shitty pissant. When I catch him I'm gonna chop off his balls and… Lucis' eyes widened as the re-equipped mage continued on her litany when Urza suddenly growled loudly in frustration, the celestial spirit mage feeling the four-wheeler lurching forward as it picked up speed once more. Lucy focused her gaze on Gray once more, the ice mage sighing at the questioning gaze he was being given. Well, about a year ago. It was 10 months ago. If you're going to tell it to someone, get it right. Gray froze at the demonic-sounding voice that came from Urza's throat, the ice mage shivering as he backed away from the driver's seat. Right, it was 10 months ago. Flashback, 10 months ago. The beginning of summer in Magnolia is a beautiful time of year, and this day was no different. The members of Fairy Tail were enjoying the wonderful day as they always did, with an overabundance of drinking, laughter and time with their family. A dusty-looking Naruto strolled into the guild, patting down his clothing as he watched the rambunctious atmosphere before him with a grin. Ah, nothing like relaxing after some early morning training. But before Naruto could approach the bar, a nervous-looking Urza appeared before the shinobi, her hands clasped to her chest as she blocked the entrance to the guild. Naruto. I need to talk to you. It's really important. Naruto smiled as he ruffled Urza's scarlet hair, the action causing the girl to blush faintly. Sure thing Urza-chan, what's up? Well, I mean why is this so hard? Damn it Naruto, I want you to be my boyfriend. Take me out on a date. Naruto's jaw dropped at the demanding confession, his gaze flicking towards the bar nervously as he watched an ominous black aura surround Mirajane, the barmaid squeezing the glass she had been polishing in her hands tightly. Well, I can't say I'm not flattered, but I'm sorry Urza, I can't go on a date with you. You see, Naruto was cut off as Urza stepped closer, the shinobi stiffening up as Urza jabbed an armored finger into his sternum. Why not? We all know you don't have a girlfriend, we're both S-class mages and we both love to fight. We're perfect for each other. Naruto gulped loudly as he heard the sound of glass breaking, the glowing form of Mirajane causing Naruto to sweat lightly as he watched a strange mist form around her body. Ah shit, we're at red alert. Pissed of girlfriend off the starboard bow. Abort. Evade. Damn it Gaki, do something. Well, you see, Naruto trailed off as Urza continued to glare at him. Her arms crossed against her armored chest as she waited for his explanation. And once again, the dreaded Uzumaki foot in the mouth disease struck, setting off a chain of events that would have far-reaching consequences. Already, have won? Urza's jaw dropped, as well as the jaws of everyone else in the room at the revelation. No way. Awesome, I won the pot. Sweet, I've finally got a chance with Mira. Oh Kami, we are so boned. Naruto watched warily as a smile began to slowly tug at Urza's lips, the young woman trembling slightly as her own dark aura appeared. Oh, I see. So, when can I meet her? After all, I have to make sure that she's good enough for you. Naruto began to sweat, his mind racing as he tried to figure a way out of Urza's latest demand when a thunderous crack echoed through the guild hall, the bar counter having somehow broken in half. Naruto watched the massive slab of wood slam into the ground, the furious glare of Mira causing the man to agree with his container. Ah shit, escape plan Delta? Delta? I'd think you'd want to go with Epsilon, it's more likely to succeed. Damn it Kurama, where am I going to find a parade at this time of year? The Harvest Festival is months away. Not to mention, I need a midget to pull it off successfully. You do have a good point there, I forgot about the midget. How about, hey, is it just me or has it gotten a lot darker out there all of a sudden? Oh shit, Gaki? I think she's pissed off that you're ignoring her. Naruto stopped focusing on his conversation with his partner, his gaze only seeing Urza's blazing aura as it reached epic proportions, the shinobi realizing that the time to escape was now. Screw it, Omega it is. Raising his hands in a cross-hand sign, Naruto launched himself away from the towering inferno of female rage, the shinobi skidding across the street as he executed his technique. Taju Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. End flashback. And so, Naruto successfully escaped in the confusion caused by several thousand copies of himself running around town. And ever since then, whenever Urza sees him, she gets mad that he wouldn't agree with her idea to go out with her and goes apeshit on his ass. Aloud, I do not. Caused Gray to immediately clam up as Lucis' eyes narrowed in suspicion. Wait, so Naruto isn't scared of Urza at all? He seemed more afraid of this girlfriend he mentioned? A silent shake of Gray's head caused Lucy to hum softly, her delicate fingers stroking her chin as she thought about the situation. As Lucy continued to stay lost in her thoughts, she never noticed that the four-wheeler had stopped suddenly until she heard Urza being screaming again. Naruto you bastard, get over here, you and I have a lot to talk about. Lucy watched as Naruto chuckled nervously, shrugged at the redhead mage and took off towards Clover Town, a trail of dust following him as he ran once more. Damn it, stop ignoring me, Naruto. Sighing loudly, Urza climbed off of the vehicle and walked towards Natsu, an impressed expression appearing as she examined the unconscious Aragorn at his feet. So, did you do this on your own, Natsu, or did Naruto help? As Natsu launched into a description of the fight, Urza began to sway at her feet but Lucy and Gray both caught her, steadying the young woman. Looking downwards, Urza scowled as she focused on the skull-topped flue that had caused this entire mess. But before she could even think about grabbing the dark artifact, she heard the engine of the four-wheeler start up, the large machine speeding towards them. As everyone dove out of the way of the vehicle, a shadowy hand appeared, grabbing Lullaby and placing into the hands of a cackling cage, the dark mage crowing in triumph as he sped towards Clover Town. Urza struggled to her feet, the younger mages looking towards her in shock. After him, we can't let him kill the guild masters. Naruto was relaxing on top of the building that the masters were meeting in, a silently smoking Makarov seated beside the shinobi. And you're sure that it was Lullaby? Not just some kind of knockoff? Naruto shuddered for a moment and nodded. Yeah, I could feel dark magic rolling off of it, it gave me the creeps. Hey, there's the four-wheeler. Wait, that's not Urza. Who is that? Naruto leaned forward, focusing on the heavily bandaged figure in the driver's seat. After a moment Naruto cocked an eyebrow as shook his head. If I didn't know any better, I'd say it was one of my old shinobi buddies, Shikamaru. But, since we're in a different dimension, I'm gonna guess that's not him. Wait. Aw shit, he's got lullaby, he's gotta be part of Eisenwald. Before Naruto could stand, Makarov grasped the mage's arm and shook his head. Nah, you've had a long day, I'll handle him. Naruto watched as Makarov leapt atop the still four-wheeler, scaring the shit out of the bandaged man. The old master spoke several words to the young man that Naruto couldn't hear, but the shinobi's eyes narrowed as he watched the Eisenwald member raise lullaby to his lips. A kunai appeared in his hand, the shinobi preparing to throw the weapon when he felt a shift in the night air, a sliver of Makarov's power slipping free and causing the young man to tense up. As the flute fell away from his lips, Naruto watched the old man continue speaking to the dark mage, the shinobi grinning as he saw the deadly flute fall to the ground. Natsu and the others burst out of the shrubs surrounding the house, gathering around Makarov and celebrating loudly. Well, looks like everything worked out well in the end. Guess I should go say hi to the masters, it's been a while since I've seen most of them. You mages have no guts. Naruto blinked slowly, his attention focused on the now smoking lullaby, the deep demonic voice coming from the item freezing everyone in their tracks. Naruto leapt to the ground, a now furious Urza recovering quickly as the re-equipped mage pointed at the shinobi angrily, when Naruto cut her tirade off. Now is not the time, Urza. Deal with the demonic-sounding flute now, bitch at me later. That's assuming there is a later, Gaki. Stoic Kurama, it's so not the time for that defeatist shit. I can't hold it any longer, I'll just eat you myself. As smoke spewed forth from the skull-shaped flute, Lucy hid behind Naruto fearfully as the haze began to form a shape above them. A very large shape. Naruto whistled loudly as he stared upwards, his gaze filled with the body of the demon lullaby. Wow, you're kinda puny. I was expecting you to be bigger. A loud roar silenced Naruto, the shinobi waving a hand slowly before his nose. Oh Kami, and do you need a breath mint? I'm starving to death, so I'm going to eat your souls. Naruto, Lucy said, the celestial spirit mage peeking out from behind her human meat shield. Where did that monster come from? Before the shinobi could answer, he saw another guild master step forward, Quattro Cerberus Goldmine, to provide the answer. The monster is lullaby itself, it's made through living magic. The magic that Zarif used. Long time no see Naruto, sucks about the circumstances. As Goldmine finished speaking, Bob of Blue Pegasus pipped up. Oh Naruto, good to see you. Who knew that we'd be paying for the darkest of all mages' mistakes hundreds of years after he died? Now, whose soul do I get to eat first? As all the mages looked at each other, Urza pointed at Naruto, the shinobi glaring at the woman and laughed sardonically. Oh yes, eat me, I would love to volunteer. Actually that's probably a bad idea, you'd most likely get indigestion. Or burn up from the inside out from the powers I use, either or. Silence. I have decided, I will consume you all, right now. Futon. Atsugai. Lucy screamed loudly as a large blast of wind flew towards Lullaby, the dense sphere of wind chakra shearing off the demon's arm. The gathered mages watched as the appendage fell to the ground, the mages all looking towards the normally cheerful shinobi with wide-eyed stares. Naruto stared back, shrugging his shoulders as he jerked a thumb towards then apparently shocked demon. What? He was pissing me off. Let's kick his ass. Gray and Natsu both ran forward, their battle cries echoing across the wooded area, while Urza leapt to the sky, her heaven's wheel armor surrounded by magical blades. Naruto grinned cockily as he watched Lullaby back away, its uncertainty evident as he watched the charging mages. Maybe this was a bad idea. That's all for now. If you enjoy then please like, share and do comments.